to still flirt even though you're in pain.
I'm not in pain.
Yeah, you are.
Now, Tommy's a character who has seen and been involved in a fair share of violence and betrayal. In Power, we learned about how he'd been stabbed in the past, but as Mireya patched him up after he was shot, she could see he was in a lot of pain. And I'm not talking about the pain of him having to be stitched up. Behind those eyes, there lies a depth of pain that is often obscured by his tough exterior. This pain is heartbreak of losing loved ones, betrayal from those closest to him, to losing an unborn child, which means Tommy Egan is scarred for life in more ways than one. But with Mireya being a nurse, she's attentive by nature. And so despite her losing herself slightly in Tommy's eyes, she can see the pain in them. However, is she playing a more dangerous game than we first thought? Trust and loyalty are words we should be very careful with in Power. So in this video, we will be exploring the theory of whether Mireya can be trusted and whether or not she actually has good intentions, or could she have been sent by her grandmother to keep an eye on Tommy's movements in Power Book 4 Force Season 2. Now, Power is filled to the brim with brutal and unexpected deaths and storylines. They have a habit of twisting a story upside down in a heartbeat, and also in a manner which the audience least expects it. This is why sometimes we believe one thing when in fact, they're just throwing us complete curveballs. So before we get to Mireya, I do want to take it back to Power for a moment. Tommy is no stranger to love, and in the early years of Power, it was said that he was into redheads, so in comes Holly Weaver.
There was this one, red hair, tall, what's her name?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Her name is Don't Touch the Merchandise, motherfucker.
Don't touch her.
Holly Weaver was a waitress at Club Truth who Tommy took a shine to. The relationship was complex and was characterized by a shared experience and a sense of belonging both characters craved due to their similar backgrounds of having no family. They were crazy as each other, and while they had many things in common, their love story was one which ended in tragedy. But the main takeaway from this Holly Weaver story in Power is that many thought she was an undercover cop for a large period of time. Now, that of course didn't turn out to be the case. In fact, despite there being a question mark over whether Tommy could actually trust Holly, it turned out she did stay loyal to him despite there being questioned by law enforcement. However, she did betray him by asking the Jamaicans to kill Ghost behind his back, and that is the one thing you never do. You never go behind Tommy's back and you never snitch, so it didn't end well for Holly Weaver. Now, bringing it back to the present day in the Force timeline, I do want to present the same question. Not that I believe Mireya is law enforcement, I don't think she is because we all know she is a nurse, but the question is, can Tommy trust Mireya?
¿Quién es el demonio pendejo ese, Miguel? Porque acostarse con ese perro podría chingar todo lo que hemos construido.
Miguel's grandmother does seem like the brains behind the operation, someone who helps set up what they built through blood, sweat and tears. Now, it does seem like she has taken a bit of a backseat and letting her grandson run the day-to-day operation, but when shit kicks off, she is on the case. She took one look at Tommy and thought, nah, there's something not quite right, and she definitely wasn't wrong. Tommy has and always will have eyes for the top spot, and to get where he needs to get to, he needs to eliminate her grandson. She asked her grandson to keep an eye on Tommy, and his response was he'll gut him like a fish before he puts his trust in him. Soon after, we saw Tommy playing Miguel Garcia just like he did with the Serbs in Power, and also the Triads before that. But could Abuelita have also asked Mireya to keep an eye on Tommy? Not that she doesn't trust her grandson, but she wants to cross every single T and dot every single I. So what if she asked Mireya to perhaps maybe get close to Tommy and pull on his heartstrings, find out everything there is to know about who he is, where he came from, and what his next plan is? After all, Mireya did switch up real quick.
Anything about blood money. I want a different life.
So why the change of heart all of a sudden on someone you barely know? Someone who's a business partner of your brother and also in the game you so badly want to stay away from? As we all know from other queen pins in Power is, they can play on men's desires and use it to level the playing field in a man's world. We've seen Monet use it in Ghost, Rock used it in Raising Kanan with Cartier, and in more recent times we're actually watching Claudia do it with Brendan Doyle. So could Miguel's grandmother have asked Mireya to do the same with Tommy? We also need to be mindful of she did lie about being able to drive. She's been behind the wheel before, and her taking on the train was crazy, but we all know Tommy, he loves crazy. But it does make us think, if she wasn't being truthful around being behind the wheel, then what else could she be lying about? Now, it could very well turn out Mireya is exactly who she says she is without an agenda, and she may not be working undercover for her grandmother, so we do need to consider the alternative perspective. Nothing they do on Power is a coincidence. Sometimes there are inconsistencies and mistakes like with the date of birth, but this right here, what we saw in episode 201, I don't think is a coincidence. So if Mireya is who she says she is, she may actually end up helping Tommy against her own flesh and blood, using this to target a weakness. Remember, Mireya is a nurse and she can gain access to a lot of medication that she could substitute for Miguel's insulin, maybe injecting Miguel with something that weakens him for a brief period of time, which could enable Tommy to take advantage. That's something I can very well see happening, but why would she do that for Tommy? Maybe that's something they'll answer at some point in season 2.
He finds out about us. He will kill us both.
Now this is something that they will 100% get to at some point. Miguel finding out Mireya is in Tommy's bed, and when he does, expect all hell to break loose.
Man, stay away from her. The graveyard is packed with guys that made the same mistake.
The graveyard is packed full of guys who have tried, but Tommy can take care of himself, that's for sure, and he loves playing with fire. But when Miguel Garcia finds out, what does that do with his relationship, but more importantly, his business relationship with the CBI? Currently, Tommy and Diamond source their product from Miguel Garcia, and to be honest with you guys, even if Miguel does find out about Mireya and Tommy, what can he do in terms of a business perspective? He needs to unload bricks that he sources from the cartel. And even if the CBI aren't the only crew who's buying from him, Tommy and Diamond buy and move a hell of a lot of product. So can Miguel Garcia risk upsetting this business partnership over Mireya? Because if he does, he'll only be hurting himself financially, and that means El Shay won't be happy, which is the bottom line. Money makes the world go round in this criminal world, and if you ain't pushing, you're falling. So let's see how Miguel approaches this situation when and if he does find out, because it is something that will cause a bit of conflict. Now, something else they do need to come back around to is Mireya's boyfriend Kendall. We saw a glimpse of him with Mireya towards the end of episode 1. Since then, Mireya has been getting closer and closer to Tommy. There has been a reference or two to Kendall, such as in episode 4 when Tommy was giving Mireya driving lessons, but we haven't seen him since. So if Tommy and Mireya are going to be a thing, she's going to have to break it off with Kendall, which they can do with quickness in power. We all saw what they did with Diamond and Adrian, so if they want to get rid of someone to serve a different purpose and a different storyline, then Power can find a way. But with that being said, that's what we know about the story with Mireya so far. They've dropped subtle hints about Mireya and Miguel's grandmother not trusting Tommy and to be keeping a close eye on him, to Miguel's diabetes, and I don't think any of it is a coincidence. There is definitely something there that they could explore later in season 2. So Miguel's grandmother is one to watch, and so is Mireya Garcia. And now the floor is open for you guys. I've ran through 2 different perspectives. One where Mireya can be keeping a close eye on Tommy, and the other one is she is who she says she is. And there are just a few curveballs being thrown into the storyline. So let me know what you guys think. Can Tommy trust Mireya in the long term? And also, will she survive season 2? Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.